Bernard King, 1984. In 1984, Bernard King delivers the most efficient scoring season of his career, averaging 26.3 points per game on 56.0% shooting for the New York Knicks. He records back-to-back 50-point games in Texas, torching the Spurs and Mavericks in consecutive road wins. His blend of mid-range precision and transition finishing makes him one of the league's most unstoppable offensive forces that year. But despite those highs, New York finishes just 47-35 and scrapes into the playoffs as the fifth seed in the East. King finishes second in MVP voting behind Larry Bird, who leads the Celtics to a 62-20 record while posting 24.2 points, 10.1 rebounds, and 6.6 assists per game. Voters reward Bird's all-around impact and team success, while King's candidacy fades in the final month as the Knicks drop 9 of their last 15 games. The loss of momentum and middling team standing proved decisive, overshadowing a career-best stretch from one of the era's most feared scorers. The year after, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar faces a similar case of statistical dominance outweighed by team narrative. Patrick Ewing, 1990. Patrick Ewing averages 28.6 points, 10.9 rebounds, and 4.0 blocks per game during the 1989-90 season, anchoring a Knicks team that wins 45 games. His production peaks in February, where he records 10 consecutive games of 30 points or more, pushing New York to a 10-3 stretch and briefly into top 4 contention in the East. Ewing leads all centers in usage and field goals made while ranking second league-wide in blocks, trailing only Hakeem Olajuwon. His defensive presence stabilizes a roster still rotating lineups under coach Stu Jackson after an early season change. Despite the surge, New York fades in March, finishing 6th in the conference, and Ewing's MVP case stalls. Magic Johnson takes the award with 22.3 points and a league-best 63 wins for the Lakers, while Charles Barkley, Michael Jordan, and Karl Malone all post stronger finishes on higher-seeded teams. Ewing lands in 5th place, his highest career finish, but never again comes this close to the award. The Knicks' late-season dip and lack of national spotlight undercut one of the most complete two-way campaigns of the era. David Robinson, 1994. David Robinson finishes the 1994 regular season averaging 29.8 points, 10.7 rebounds, 4.8 assists, and 3.3 blocks, becoming the first player since Kareem to post those combined averages. He leads the league in scoring, ranks second in blocks, and pushes the Spurs to 55 wins, all without another teammate, averaging more than 15 points. Robinson's workload stretches across both ends of the floor, anchoring a top 5 defense while initiating most of San Antonio's half-court offense. He plays 80 games, finishing first in PR and second in win shares behind only Hakeem Olajuwon. Despite Robinson's statistical dominance, MVP voters favor Olajuwon, whose Rockets win 58 games and finish just ahead of the Spurs in the standings. The vote tightens further after the postseason when Hakeem decisively outplays Robinson in a head-to-head second-round series. Although playoff outcomes are not part of the MVP criteria, the timing reinforces Olajuwon's selection and overshadows Robinson's case. The following year, Robinson returns to win MVP, but in 1994, his all-around brilliance falls just short of the league's ultimate individual prize. Derek Coleman, 1994. Derek Coleman posts 20.2 points, 11.3 rebounds, and 3.4 assists per game in his 4th NBA season, establishing himself as one of the league's most versatile forwards. He leads the New Jersey Nets to a 45-37 record, their best finish in a decade, while operating as both primary scorer and interior defender. Coleman records double-doubles in 50 of his 77 appearances and routinely outplays front-court stars, including a 36.16 rebound effort against Karl Malone in March. His ability to stretch the floor with shooting and defend the paint elevates New Jersey into a credible playoff team. Despite the individual numbers and team improvement, Coleman finishes 6th in MVP voting, behind Hakeem Olajuwon, David Robinson, and Scottie Pippen. Voters reward team success at the very top, and New Jersey's first-round exit softens perceptions of Coleman's overall impact. He never returns to the MVP ballot again, as injuries and inconsistency derail his trajectory. The 1994 campaign remains his career peak in both production and league-wide recognition before the MVP spotlight returns to Houston for a second straight year. Penny Hardaway, 1996. In 1996, with Shaquille O'Neal sidelined for over half the season, Anthony Penny Hardaway leads the Orlando Magic to 60 wins while averaging 21.7 points and 7.1 assists per game. At 6'7", Hardaway handles point guard duties against smaller defenders, orchestrates late-game possessions, and finishes top 10 in both player efficiency and assist percentage. His production sustains the Magic through a 17-5 stretch, without their All-NBA center highlighting Hardaway's value as the primary engine. It becomes the most complete solo season of his career. Despite the statistical and team success, MVP voters place Hardaway third. Michael Jordan, returning from retirement for his first full season since 1993, captures the award with 30.4 points per game and a 72-10 Bulls record. The narrative around Jordan's comeback and historic team performance overshadows all challengers. Meanwhile, Hardaway's performance positions Orlando as a rising power in the East, but his own MVP window narrows quickly. Injuries reduce his availability over the next 2 seasons and remove him from the award conversation by 1998. Shawn Kemp, 1996. Shawn Kemp averages 19.6 points and 11.4 rebounds across 79 games for a Seattle team that wins 64 times second most in the league, behind only Jordan's Bulls. His defensive versatility and physical dominance helped the Sonics rank top 5 in both offensive and defensive rating. Kemp plays above the rim with unmatched force, punishing help defenders and anchoring Seattle's interior defense alongside Gary Payton's perimeter pressure. In most seasons, the best player on a 60-win team earns MVP traction, but in 1996, the race is over before it begins. Michael Jordan's return resets the hierarchy. Chicago goes 72-10. Jordan reclaims his scoring title at 30.4 points per game, and voters show no interest in an alternative. Kemp finishes 7th, despite leading his team to the finals, where the Sonics push the Bulls to 6 games. The dominance of Jordan's narrative ensures that elite seasons from second-tier contenders go unrewarded, a pattern that continues into the post-Jordan era. Grant Hill, 1997. Grant Hill delivers one of the most balanced seasons of the 1990s, averaging 21.4 points, 9.0 rebounds, and 7.3 assists, while leading the Pistons to a 54-28 record. He finishes third in MVP voting behind Karl Malone and Michael Jordan, despite playing more minutes per game than either and logging a higher assist rate. Hill accounts for nearly a third of Detroit's total offense, functioning as both their primary playmaker and top rebounder. Among non-guards, only Oscar Robertson had previously posted similar all-around numbers across a full season. Because Detroit lacks a second star or consistent scoring help, Hill's value manifests in cumulative production rather than highlight totals. But the 1997 race favors team narratives. Malone's Jazz finish with 64 wins, while Jordan's Bulls post 69, making Hill's case less compelling despite the statistical range. Voters reward winning at scale more than versatility in isolation, so Hill once again settles for recognition without the award. The Pistons' win total drops the following year, and Hill never gets closer to MVP again. Chris Webber, 2001. Chris Webber averages 27.1 points, 11.1 rebounds, and 4.2 assists per game in 2001, while leading the Sacramento Kings to 55 wins, the franchise's best record since moving to California. The Kings play the fastest pace in the league and finish with the top offensive rating, powered by Webber's mid-post scoring and playmaking. His versatility stretches defenses and anchors one of the most balanced rosters in the NBA. Sacramento opens the year 35-12 and enters March with MVP-level momentum. A late-season ankle injury derails Webber's candidacy, just as Allen Iverson, Tim Duncan, and Shaquille O'Neal surge down the stretch. Voters place Webber fourth, and despite returning for the playoffs, he never regains the same national backing in subsequent seasons. He finishes his career without a first-place MVP vote. Sacramento's 2001 run lays the groundwork for the 2002 Western Conference Finals, but Webber's peak as an MVP-level performer proves short-lived. 2 years later, another power forward in Minnesota takes that momentum and wins the award outright. Gilbert Arenas, 2006. Gilbert Arenas averages 29.3 points, 6.1 assists, and 2.0 steals across 80 games in 2006, powering the Washington Wizards to a 42-40 record and a third straight playoff berth. He leads the NBA in clutch scoring and delivers its most explosive individual performance, a 60-point overtime win over the Lakers, capped by a game winner over Kobe Bryant. Arenas ranks third in total points scored and becomes the first Wizard to average 29+ since Bernard King in 1991. His fearless shot-making and unpredictable persona earn national attention and late-season MVP buzz. Despite that momentum, Arenas finishes just 8th in MVP voting. Voters penalize Washington's middling record, and with elite candidates like Steve Nash, Kobe Bryant, and LeBron James also producing monster seasons, his campaign stalls. Arenas becomes a cult figure more beloved by fans and media than award voters. His 2006 season remains the statistical peak of his career just before injuries and locker room turmoil derail his ascent. Steve Nash, 2007. Steve Nash posts 18.6 points, 11.6 assists, and shoots 53% from the field during the 2006-07 season, efficiency numbers that exceed both of his prior MVP campaigns. He leads the Phoenix Suns to 61 wins, their highest total, under coach Mike D'Antoni, and orchestrates the league's top offense with 110.2 points per game. Despite outperforming his own MVP benchmarks, Nash finishes second in voting behind Dirk Nowitzki, whose Mavericks win 67 games and dominate the regular season narrative. Voter fatigue plays a subtle role as few players in NBA history secure 3 consecutive MVP awards. Nash's statistical case is strong, but Dirk's team success and the perception of defensive liability in Phoenix hurt Nash's candidacy. The Suns remain a perennial contender, but postseason shortcomings continue to shadow their regular season brilliance. The Mavericks' collapse in the first round doesn't factor into MVP voting, which is finalized before the playoffs. James Harden, 2015. James Harden averages 27.4 points, 7.0 assists, and 5.7 rebounds in 2015, while leading the Houston Rockets to 56 wins and the Western Conference's second seed. With Dwight Howard limited to just 41 games due to injury, Harden becomes the league's most durable and productive engine, ranking first in total points and second in offensive win shares. He scores 30 or more in 35 different games and adds elite playmaking with nearly 3 times as many assists as any teammate. By most advanced metrics, Harden carries the largest offensive load in the league. Despite that case, voters award MVP to Stephen Curry, who averages fewer points, but leads a 67-win Warriors team that dominates the standings wire to wire. Golden State's historic point differential and stylistic transformation drive a media narrative that favors team success over individual burden. Harden finishes second in MVP voting, but wins the players' vote, suggesting a split between public perception and peer recognition. The result becomes the first of several close MVP finishes for Harden as his numbers and usage rise in the years that follow.